Good morning to the honorable ministers of the council. Good morning to our media members present. Online and TV 15 viewers, radio listeners via Tel TV Plus, SXM Gov Radio 107.9 FM, and other radio stations. Welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, August 10th, 2022. I am Giselle York, and I will be your guest host for today. At this time, I will invite the Honorable Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport to give his opening remarks. He will unfortunately have to depart after that, so members of the media can forward any questions directly to his cabinet. Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. York, and good morning to you and to the members of CoM and to the members of the media here this morning. Good morning to my colleagues. And good morning to the people of St. Martin. I would like to start with the following. The Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports, via the Departments of Sports and Culture, has partnered with Nagico Insurances to host the first ever Health, Sports and Culture Expo at the Rawalili Sports Complex on Saturday, August 27th. The expo will showcase a cross-section of health, sports, and cultural organizations on the island, giving attendees the opportunities to witness demonstrations and learn about the organizations. The attendees will also have the opportunity to sign up and join any of the groups. The expo will begin at 7 a.m. and will continue until 3:30 p.m. We will have salsa, capoeira, yoga, and Zumba classes, wellness checkups by physicians and professional organizations, and various other demonstrations will be available. Over 80 organizations with a wide range of offerings available for children and adults alike will be on display on August 27th, and it will all be free. The Ministry of ECYS and Nagico Insurances recognize the importance of having a strong and healthy society and are hopeful that through this expo, they will be able to bring more awareness to the health, sports, and cultural organizations we have access to, and to give these entities the platform to highlight their offerings and the various services they provide. The partnership between the Ministry of ECYS and Nagico has allowed us to join forces and resources to ensure a bigger and even more exciting opportunity for the public. So we are encouraging everyone to come out, as there will be something for everyone. I will also like to give the following release. The St. Martin Country Reform Package, which was established in 2020, consists of a combination of short-term measures and long-term structural reforms that are necessary to make St. Martin financially, economically, and administratively resilient. For the theme Education and Care, a preliminary review of St. Martin's education system was regarded as the first step. This review, commenced by the Inspectorate of Education of Culture, Youth and Sports in collaboration with the Inspectorate of Onderwijs, Cultuur en Wetenschap of the Netherlands in April 2021. The screening of the education sector resulted in an interim report that was delivered in March 2022. The interim report of St. Martin Education Review established 10 recommendations. These recommendations consist of the following: establish a reliable and sustainable data registration system for key figures, improve the education process, provide a continuous learning path, enhance the connection between education and the labor market, develop a mature governance structure, ensure up-to-date and adequate legislation, organize an efficient and transparent budgetary system, strengthen financial accountability, guarantee the basic conditions for good education, and analyze inefficiencies in the education system. In follow-up to the interim report, a comparative analysis was drafted by the staff of the Department of Education in collaboration with the ministry's divisions and departments. The comparative analysis presented a comparison of the recommendations stemming from the interim report against the tentative Ministry of ECYS budget for 2022, the Department of Education's annual plan 2022, and current work in progress. The analysis also included the objectives for education outlined in the governing program 2021-2024 and the strategic plan of the Ministry of ECYS 2016-2026, as well as recommendations stemming from the Arubian interim report. The interim report of the Education Review of Curaçao was not yet published at the time of the comparative analysis and thus was not included. The aim of the comparative analysis was to establish the efforts that are currently being realized by the Ministry of ECYS to improve the education system and to identify the areas outlined in the recommendations that are not yet being addressed. While there were many similarities between the recommendations made in Aruba interim report and the St. Martin interim report, it was concluded that the unique situation of the islands were taken into consideration. It was also concluded that all the proposed recommendations stemming from St. Martin's interim report are being addressed, albeit that some sub-recommendations may require additional consideration. All key recommendations are also related to the vision and strategic plan of the government and the Ministry of ECYS as captured in the governing program and the strategic plan 2016-2026. The final report of St. Martin Education Review is expected to be delivered in October 2022. I would also like to say that the scholastic year has begun. And even though at the beginning of every school year, you would have challenges with registrations and one or two other administrative things, that the school year has begun pretty okay. And we continue to wish everyone a safe and successful scholastic year. One of the things that I continue to stress during this year is that the parents should make sure that the children have sufficient rest at night so that they can pay attention and be able to learn that which they are being taught. Last week, I also spoke about the National Summer School Program, and I want to say that the National Summer School Program indeed was a great success, and we are in the stage where we are making payments to the persons that help in the program, the teachers, the vendors, and everyone else that was there. And I would like to indicate that even though we were not able to pay the teachers full, we have started by paying them in advance. And when the administration of everything is finished, the balance of the payments will be made to the teachers. I would like to say again, a big thank you to everyone who have participated in the program and have made the program a success. I know I won't be here for questioning, but I would like to address very shortly the question that was posed to me last week by Ms. Bibi Shah. And I would like you to know that I have begun with discussions regarding the topic. The challenge is that we do not have written complaints, so that makes it even more challenging, and we will continue to do our best to look into this topic. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel. I would now like to invite the Honorable Minister of Justice, Anna Richardson, to have the floor. Minister.
Good morning to my honorable colleagues, Team DCOM, Ms. York, the listening and viewing public, and a special good morning to the senior citizens. First, I am wishing one and all a bright and safe and prosperous 2022-2023 school year. I am also sending success and blessings to all those who have ventured abroad to continue their studies. I would hereby now like to speak briefly on the recent court rulings regarding the officers of KPSM, yes, the police officers. Firstly, this Minister of Justice has not at no time refused to take a decision or grant the promotions to officers. As a matter of fact, I know that the article and this article and the previous one points out that I indeed had sent letters to the officers via their lawyer to acknowledge that their requests are valid and that I would take the necessary steps to have the decrees signed, which I did. I did send the national decrees, but they were returned unsigned. As the article of today points out, the minister does make the decision as to whether to promote or dismiss, but ultimately the authority of national decrees stand with His Excellency, the Governor. It is public knowledge that His Excellency took a position quite a while ago, even before my tenure, not to sign decrees until the function book and the necessary or new salary scale was completed. We know that last December 2021, the function book was approved. I'd like to say that the police law with the new salary table is currently in the legislative process. The draft spent 4 weeks with the Yazet and Way. It then was sent to the Council of Ministers, approved by SAME, and was forwarded to the CCSU all within the last few days of this past July. By law, the CCSU has 6 weeks. Thereafter, it has to be sent to the Council of Advice, who will also have 6 weeks. Thereafter, the legislative process will, of course, run beyond the time frame that the courts have given us. That can only mean that I have to continue in my deliberations with His Excellency to arrive at an agreement or a consensus where we can avoid subjecting the country to penalties, have these decrees signed. I will continue with the pursuit, but as it is so mentioned, the authority does lie with His Excellency. I want to take this opportunity to give assurance and reassurance that I continue to work in the interests of the officers of law enforcement, St. Martin, and I just want to reiterate that though the article states that the minister refuses to, that is absolutely incorrect. I have all to support that. Coming into the ministry, even the department that deals with human resources for the Ministry of Justice indicated to me, Minister, we can prepare these decrees, they will be sent, but they won't be signed. And I have indicated to them with all true and transparency, send them anyway. Because what I don't want is for officers to feel just what has been communicated here in the article, that the Minister of Justice is not in support of the fact that they are entitled to their promotions and need to have that. However, His Excellency has his position as to what this can cause or his experience, and he has taken a stance on it. And the objective here is just to work through the bottlenecks that we are encountering. And I'm hoping that with sending a letter off to His Excellency before the end of today with our position and proposals as to how we can mitigate this issue can be supported by him, especially by the fact that the last item being the Rechtspositieregeling and the bezoldiging for KPSM will be received positively through the legislative process. So those are my opening remarks. I think it was only but right for me to address that at this moment, and I remain available for any questions the media may have. Yes, thank you.
Thank you to the Minister of Justice. And finally, we have the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, Minister Egbert Duran, who will give an opening statement and will be available for part of the question round, but will have to leave in the middle of that. So whatever questions we may not get to, you can also forward directly to his cabinet. Minister Duran.
Thank you, Ms. York. Good morning to you, members of the media, colleague minister, and a special good morning to the people of St. Martin. Today I have a few updates, but first of all, I would like to start by as mentioning the following. As we enter into the school year 2022-2023, I would like to wish the students that have already started the new school year and those that are scheduled to start later this week much success with their studies. I'm sure many were excited to get back into the learning routine with their classmates and teachers. Some may even be nervous entering the school year in high school. I encourage all parents to prepare their children in this new chapter, encourage them to stay focused, never give up, and always to keep a positive mindset. This new school year is an opportunity to work harder to achieve new goals and contribute to a brighter future. Once again, I wish all students, teachers, parents during this school year much success. As recently published in the media, repairs to our private homes are making steady progress. The repairs were done under the St. Martin Trust Fund ERP1 project, which focused on the most financially vulnerable persons or senior citizens. Last week, another home was turned over to a St. Martin residents who was damaged during the 2017 hurricanes. I was happy to be part of the handing over of the keys to another newly repaired home, and I look forward to doing many more. While on the topic of homes that were damaged during the hurricane, it is important to mention that the recently established building codes that will help us, as well as the government, as well as citizens, make more informed decisions on how to rebuild after a disaster. I just would like to urge all residents and all contractors to please adhere to the new building codes. In the coming months, we will be having sessions and training sessions for that purpose so that the public can be informed and have the opportunity to familiarize themselves even more in depth with the new building codes. This will be jointly with a consultant, also with the staff of the permits department, also staff of the policy department. So you can look out for that update within the coming months. I would just like to give an update on the job mixer that was held at the government building. I would like to give the following. As previously mentioned, over 300 persons attended, over 140 persons applied to different functions within the Ministry of VROMI. Various interviews was held, and these will continue within the coming weeks. Applicants who were not selected will receive the information of such, and also encouraging them to continue to apply to various functions via government's website and Facebook page. We also remind the applicants that great opportunities for self-improvements were there, so they were provided with different points of where they can do different courses to enhance their skill set. And also, I'm happy to announce that the first person was approved and also signed off by my person. Now we'll follow route to go to the governor's cabinet to be hired, which is in the case of VROMI in the inspection department. So we see that it took some time, but the process is flowing. One thing is for certain, even the staff of P&O, they're also understaffed, but they did their best, assisted the Ministry of VROMI as well as the department heads. So we have our first official hire from the job mixer that is going through, and many more are coming as well, as they are in the final negotiation stages with the respective individuals. Lastly, I would like to give an update on the plans for our road network. The Ministry of VROMI is looking forward to starting with the road resurfacing project for this year. The past years, the ministry has executed mainly road patching and repair work to our existing infrastructure. All of this was done within the limits of the available budget. The majority of our current road infrastructure was surfaced within the 90s and the early 2000s. Therefore, it's important to know that these roads have really passed their lifespan. The objective of the road surfacing is to produce pavement with long service lives. This will be achieved by example developing adequate design methods using high quality products. Addressing the core issues is very important. For example, implementing drainage and water runoff along the roads. A public tender will be required and the terms of reference will be published for said projects. The main targeted roads are Link 1, Phase 1, which is Little Bay, Arch Road, Upper Princess Quarter, the Prince Bernard Bridge, Dutch Quarter, ATLH Road, ATLH Road, Lower Princess Quarter, Longwall Road, Sucker Garden Road, Union Road, Walter Nisbet Road, Airport Road, and also the L.B. Scott Road. I would like to give also a brief overview of some of the roads, the dirt roads that we mentioned as well over the last couple of months that will be worked on as well, which will be the Silk Tree Road, Manjack Drive, Sandbox Tree Road, Rubber Tree Drive, Aki Tree Drive, Jumping Chola Cactus Road, Andros Island Drive, Cassava Drive, the Cul-de-Sac Cemetery Road, Dominica Road, Goldfinch Road, Roses Road, Secosgut Lane, St. James Road, Guavaberry Road, Ellis Drive, and Bastille Road. These are among some of the dirt roads that we plan to hard surface with cement. The intended approach for government is to purchase the concrete by means of a public tender, and civil work contractors will be hired to carry the work based on the labor price. Once the budget amendment is approved by Parliament and the CapEx is passed by the Kingdom Council of Ministers, this will become a reality. We have all the plans ready, set to go, and I look forward to executing this because this would alleviate a lot of the burdens and the stresses of our people that don't have proper infrastructure leading to their homes. That would be all for now for my opening remarks, and I look forward for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran. In the meantime, the Honorable Minister of Public Health, Social Development, and Labor, Omar Otley, has joined us and has an opening remark. Minister Otley.
Thank you. Good day to the honorable members of the council, the media, viewing and listening public. I'll be very short today as it pertains to VSI. I'm happy to announce that we finally signed off on the RFP for the cannabis legislation in collaboration with Justice and the Ministry of TIAT. A work group will be formed to now go forward with the studies of cannabis and the benefits that it will have. Of course, education would later be involved, but we need to do a direct study with all the stakeholders to ensure that we have a positive impact on not only society, but the economy. As it pertains to the Ministry of TIAT, the investment policy was signed off. This will also create digital nomads. It will encourage residency by investment. So this is a next step in the right direction for St. Martin. We also signed the agricultural advice. This would also now create sustainability with livestock, foods, and so forth within our country. I would like to address I received these questions in writing, but I would just like to answer this part publicly, where Mr. Kantav spoke about the gas prices going down in the world, but realized that they are not going down in St. Martin. However, gas prices go down when the main wholesaler basically receive their new stock. So I want to break it down as simple as possible. If you have, just for instance, 100 gallons of gasoline and it's set at a certain price, when you receive the next stock, that's when the change can go into effect. Okay? What we may see is that, for instance, during the lockdown, many persons were not moving, etc., so the gas took longer to go down. So, however, a fuel price change can be expected within the coming weeks. But when we give information, I would like for us to also realize when we say St. Martin is high compared to what? Compared to who? For instance, St. Martin is at $1.67. Bahamas, $1.76. Aruba, $1.86. Jamaica, $1.70. Curacao, 1.64. So we're high compared to whom? So we have to be very careful with the message that we're giving out. So it's a good question, a very good question, and I'm glad that he asked it publicly. I see that he's not here, but I still will send his answers in writing, but I wanted the public to know the reason. So we cannot just change prices. It's when the wholesaler has notified the ETT, the Ministry of TIAT, that, hey, our current stock is done, and then with the new stock, the new price change will be implemented and is expected to be implemented within the next coming week. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Otley. If you've just joined us, you're listening to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, August 10th, 2022. We will now move to the question and answer section with our journalists. As I give the floor to our first journalist, journalists are kindly reminded to please keep your questions concise and as to the point as possible. Ms. Bibi Hodgshaw of SMN News, you have the first question.
Good morning. Good morning, ministers, colleagues. My first question is to the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Romi. Minister, I think it's a known fact that GEBE has in a financial predicament. While it's not out, they're not saying it as loud as it should be. We know that there are several cuts made at GEBE with regards to overtime, pay, etc. But one of the things that concern me, Minister, is that since 2015, if I am correct, the Supervisory Board of Directors then, along with the Council of Ministers back then, were looking into the purchasing of 7Cs so that the country can own its own water plan and not have to pay a private company that would maintain a selected few of people on the job. What is your thoughts today, especially knowing that GEBE is conducting all the water production, they're doing all the manual work, except paying 7Cs a ton of money for water? Are you on board with the company purchasing 7Cs? And what about the Minister of VSR, since he has, it falls under him with drinking water? What's your thoughts on having this company for the country?
Thank you, Bibi, for your question. I'll answer part of the question and then pass the floor over to my colleague. With respect to my personal opinion on cost-saving measures, I believe that it is a no-brainer if GB is a government-owned company, and if GB can afford to purchase 7Cs and invest in our own infrastructure, then all the flow and the money stays in-house. You can see that example with what we did at the wastewater treatment plant as government when we took over the management thereof, and we are saving a significant amount of monies. So therefore, a similar concept can be put in place. But with respect to the details of the 7Cs contract, I would pass the floor to my colleague minister, who that falls directly under. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shah. Very good question indeed. I am all for ownership, local ownership, and I do believe that GB can save a lot by acquiring the water production rights. I won't say buy 7Cs. 7Cs is the company that carries it out. So for us to acquire the water rights. The contract, however, as we know, has always been extended minister by minister, and with, I call it it's a period where you get relief. The contract then is extended automatically for 2 years. However, we have had many meetings with 7Cs and GB. I have instructed them to prepare me a plan moving forward on if they think they are ready and how they can move forward with such responsibilities. However, I must state that while we do want ownership, we need to make sure that we are very much prepared. I'm talking logistically, managerial-wise, and so forth. So that has to be very, very much paid. Keen attention has to be paid to that. And also that's why we started finally the DDRP project, which has been established during my tenure. This now would allow training for those interested in water engineering and production to take place. So now we are in the final stages with SYB to establish this, basically this committee, which will give scholarships to those interested. We already have a potential candidate that will complete this study. So once we just put in everything in the right direction. One thing we cannot play with is drinking water. And we don't want a situation like our neighbors, for instance. So I want to make sure that when this step is taken, it is taken correctly. So we are in the process of acquiring all the information and preparing training for the next, I won't say generation, but the next possibilities.
Thank you. The next question goes to Ms. Jacqueline Hoffman of the Daily Herald.
Thank you, Giselle. Good morning, ministers. Minister Duran, during the Governor's Symposium, you said that nature conservation is your priority. Could you give some examples of what you have accomplished in terms of nature conservation and how this relates to the ongoing deforestation and excavation on the hills?
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman, for your question. Just to start with, for instance, the Article 28A, which was on the back burner for, I think, since 2012, was reinstated under my tenure. I pushed for it. I mean, it's something that a lot of people dodge, a lot of governments dodge in the past. And I believe that that is definitely a great step in the right direction. What we have is a lot of building permits and things that were granted in the past, whether it be a year before I took office or a couple of months before I took office, and now you see most of them starting. Indeed, there are certain areas where persons did not have permission, doesn't have permission, and we as a ministry have tackled those things, or actively tackling those things. I had a meeting 2 weeks ago, actually, with the Nature Foundation, which was an urgent meeting regarding the sargassum that is around our island, and I indicated to them that I want to have a follow-up meeting to make certain places preserved, for instance, Mullet Pond, Little Key, and different areas. They also put out an article, I think it was the Emilia Wilson Foundation, in preserving certain areas there. That is already in the pipeline and in ongoing discussion within the ministry, especially in particular with the policy department. So those are different strides that we are making in order to preserve our nature. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move over to TV Carib and Mr. Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Ms. York. Good morning to the ministers. Question for the acting prime minister concerning the Women Island Teachers Union. Y2, they sent a letter yesterday or the day before to the Council of Ministers concerning the vacation allowance for the teachers. Any update on at least a response from government?
Thank you, Andrew, for your question. I haven't seen the letter or received the letter. However, it is a discussion that has been ongoing. I had a meeting with the Minister of Finance yesterday, and we're going to take a different approach into addressing this issue. And I look forward before the end of the week for an update to come to the public from within from the government. So it has our full attention, and I know that it is a very uncomfortable situation for the teachers, and I understand their concerns, and I want to reassure you that it has definitely our full attention, my full attention in addressing it. So hopefully by the end of this week, latest Monday, the public will be made aware, or let's just put it like this, the relevant stakeholders, which will be the school boards, will be made aware of potential solutions and how we can resolve this matter, because it needs to be resolved. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. And the final question of this round goes to Mr. Lyndon Brown of BCN TV.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. Question to Minister Otley. Minister Otley recently was emphasizing on small businesses. Minister, as we speak, small businesses are in crisis, and according to from the Chamber of Commerce, there are a number of small businesses who might cease exist because they cannot meet their financial agreement. Minister, while small businesses are in crisis, we have seen a lot of Chinese supermarkets is opening in every street corner, Minister, to actually for the survival of our small businesses here in St. Martin. Do you thinking about a bailout? Because if the small businesses are in crisis so much, but other businesses is emerging with a pace, Minister, soon the small businesses will be history. So I want you to comment on this matter.
Small businesses can never be history. What we are trying to do is strengthen the entrepreneurial spirit of the businesses and educate them on how to better implement their services. So far for this program, we already have the latest update. Over 40 businesses have signed up Now, what we are trying to do is see the best way for us as economic affairs to stimulate these businesses. There needs to be controls as well, I do agree, to ensure that businesses are registered. Those that are open are indeed registered, and we have a hold on it. What we do have is a lot of pop-up businesses, people that open their doors and may not have licenses to operate or so forth. So yes, in that aspect, controls will happen. Controls need to happen to ensure that we do not oversaturate any market. Okay? But what we are trying to do is increase that business spirit, and then we may have a lot of those complaints in our program, but then we will now use this to see how to strengthen our economic activities moving forward. But no, the idea is that small businesses to never die. And what I think is that we often only pay attention to the big businesses. And this is the opportunity now to ensure that we breathe a fresh, better air in the small and medium businesses who carry this economy.
Thank you. We move back over to Bibi Hotshaw of SMN News.
Thank you. My second question is for the Minister of VSA, Omar Otley. Minister Otley, it has come to my knowledge that SZV has pulled out of sending patients to Panama. What I'm understanding is that they are now resuming Colombia, that closed their borders for almost 2 years because of the pandemic. I'm also understanding that Colombia is only accepting vaccinated persons to be transferred there for the medical treatment. What would happen to the unvaccinated, and what's the exact reason for the complete pullout from Panama?
Thank you, Ms. Alsha. The reason that we actually ended up, I wouldn't say in relations with Panama, is the fact that indeed Colombia at the time, at the height of COVID, was only accepting vaccinated persons. However, we needed an option, so Panama was accepting. Panama, now Colombia has opened back to us, so we can send other than vaccinated persons. We can send unvaccinated persons to Colombia. We can. Hence the decision to now, okay, after this set that is there, to pull back out of Panama, for not only for financial reasons as well. Yeah, but go ahead.
At the same time, Minister, can you also address what would happen to the persons that have operated, for example, had surgeries or have to have follow-up treatment in Panama? As you answer, kindly also include that.
Yes. So, of course, we have to do it in a humane manner. So persons that are in Panama right now, as long as the hospital or the doctor's observations is that the persons need to remain, they will remain for the time being. If there's follow-ups, we would consider, depending on what it is, we would indeed honor that follow-up. But the idea is to phase out of Panama and move back to our regular scheduled program, for lack of a better words, to Colombia, as Panama is indeed more, higher.
Jacqueline Hoffman of the Daily Herald.
Yeah. Minister Duran, you just mentioned Article 28A. Before any excavations or land clearing, the public has 6 weeks to appeal. But where can these works be viewed? Where can the public see the scope of the work, how much land is going to be cleared, how much excavations are? Because when you reintroduced Article 28A, it was stated that it would be published. And to date, it has not been published. There is no civil works permit published. You said a few weeks ago it was in the building permit. If you look at the list of the building permits in the National Gazette, it said BP and it says demolition, but it doesn't show what works it is, how much, and how can people appeal?
Thank you for your question. I believe a couple months ago we had this same discussion where you mentioned that they are not being published, where I showed you where they are being published.
You showed,
And-
sorry, you showed,
wow.
you showed 2 pages from the National Gazette, and there was nothing on it. If you show it, please, then show it in writing.
Thank you for the opportunity, but I would appreciate if you're speaking that I can finish my sentence. I showed you pages where it was published in the National Gazette. You can check back the dates and everything. They are written in the National Gazette. Maybe if you're saying that you don't understand the description of the works and so forth, but even in a building permit that is published, it doesn't say a 3-story home or anything like that. It has a building permit, and then you as a concerned citizen have the right to then appeal or look into it or go further into it. So that those opportunities and those provisions are there. So I don't mind if you have time one of these days, I can allow you to sit with the permits department. We can go through it and explain to you, so then we can do a full article to explain the general population, how they can look into it, how they're able to get more details on the project. So I think that would be able to resolve this concern of yours. If you're open to that, then I'm willing to do that. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you to the Minister for his answers to those questions. We move over to Mr. Andrew Dick of TV Carib.
Thank you. Minister of Justice, the Victim Support Services, we haven't heard an update for a while. How far are we?
Thank you for that question. So I was actually just speaking about that. I do apologize for the fact that Victim Support Services has not opened its doors yet, but I'm happy to say that we have identified, after quite a number of persons did put forward their resumes for a number of positions that were published for it, a director has been identified. Unfortunately, I can't announce who the director is at this time because the process of signing the contractual agreement between the board and the director has not taken place yet, but I promise you we will be doing that within the next couple of weeks. The goal is to be able to do that within this month, and then we would be able to publish all the great developments that are happening for victim support services. And just to that end, you know, we had some very high impact incidents that took place between Miss Harley, the gentleman, I can't pull his last name from my mind at this time, who were victims of very serious crimes or an accident. As Minister of Justice, because I recognize that that void is there, victim support services, I have been contacting family members to express support there, and even given guidance, you know, where they can go to get certain things happening. So victim support services is a high priority of mine. It's very important to me, and I know it is missing in our community, and I'm trying to fill that void as minister myself in the interim. I know that's might not be considered ideal, but it's of importance to me. So thank you, Mr. Dick, for asking about it, but indeed we do have some great developments, and they're coming forward pretty soon. Thank you.
Mr. Brown, you can pose your question.
Question to Minister Otley. Minister Otley, are you satisfied the progress of the hospital? So far, it has been said that the hospital is in crisis. Minister, is there any timeline of completion?
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Yes, indeed, there is a timeline of completion. Unfortunately, there is a delay. Am I satisfied with the hospital? No. Am I satisfied with the progress that has been made since taking my seat? Yes. I listed a list of accomplishments from the hospital to now. So the hospital started 4 years ago. I've been in my seat 16 months. And I can sit and show you a list of accomplishments within the last 16 months that have taken place with the hospital, including last week or 2 weeks ago, the biggest pour in St. Martin history. So I created quarterly meetings with the hospital. We create hard deadlines moving forward. I would love for the hospital to be built already, but I'm dealing with the situation now, and I'm trying my best with it. So we have seen progress. One thing, I have committed transparency to the people on every aspect of the project that is relayed to me. The next stage, in which I have stated in an article publicly, is now I want to see more increase. Since 3 months ago, there was an increase of, I would say, on my calculation, of about 15 new workers. I told them that I would like to see now double to triple the amount in the next coming, I have 2 more months to meet with them. So we are making progress. We are getting there. Am I satisfied? No. I don't think no one is satisfied over the last 4 years. But for the last 16 months, I can show where the hospital has made tremendous progress during my tenure.
Thank you, Minister. For our final round, we go back once more to Bibi Hodshaw of SMN News.
Thank you, Giselle. My question is to the Minister of VSR, the Acting Minister of TIAT as well. It's a TIAT question, Minister Otley. Last week we had the situation of Winair and civil aviation with the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic has this airline Sky High that is already operating, coming to St. Martin, in and out of St. Martin. What I'd like to know is what agreement does Winair have with Sky High? And the reason for my question is I do believe Winair does their handling, but does that involve having Winair staff members as crew members on Sky High? Because just this week I saw pictures on Facebook with Winair staff as crew member. So what I would like to know is Winair a shareholder of Sky High? And is that the reason they're requesting an aviation license?
Thank you. I would have to get this information directly from Winair, and I can answer you in writing. I don't know if it's something that they want publicly, or would you accept it in writing? But however, as stated, I can speak for the agreement that was made with Dominican Republic. The Winair put in their days for charter as already normally been agreed. It has been accepted. They now can sell tickets in the Dominican Republic, and Winair now has to do their part in order to register to be considered regular flights, commercial flights. So now the ball is in Winair's court. As for information with shareholder and so forth, I don't want to speak on it. I will get that information directly from Winair and relay to you.
Ms. Hoffman, your question, please.
My question is to the Acting Minister of TIAT. You just mentioned the investment policy. What is the reason that St. Martin doesn't have e-zones and an organization like CTEX in Curacao for e-commerce? And what does St. Martin do in terms of the Madrid protocol for the registration of international intellectual property? Is that also part of the investment policy?
I'll answer your questions backwards. Yes, it is a part. The last part, it is a part of the investment policy. But now the policy that we sign is to be, it's a framework, because the policy has to be incorporated interministerially. So it can't be done without, for instance, justice. We're talking residency by investment. I can't give residency. So now the framework is the policy on how we move forward. And now we will dive into the research interministerially. When we speak of e-zones, this actually, in St. Martin, it falls under the Ministry of Finance. Now, I could tell you, could be possibly the fact that we have different fees and taxes as Curacao. Curacao have import and freight fees and so forth. So, but for more specifics, I can relay the question to the Ministry of Finance as to if e-zones are in our plans, how do we plan to move forward? If it's not, I can relay the question to Finance and have an answer to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
TV Carib, Mr. Dick.
Yeah, Minister of VSR, yes. The index of the leave of the minimum wage, we haven't received an update for a while. What's the latest?
I can always count on you. I was waiting on you. As stated, the Council of Advice sent back their advice, and the ministry is now working, because there are many concerns in the advice. So the ministry now have to address each concern of the Council of Advice and motivate whatever decision we make moving forward. So the advice was not just based on, yes, do it. It basically, was this taken into consideration? Was that taken into consideration? So I can tell the people of St. Martin we are in our final stage, and now the report is being prepared. Once this is done, it will be presented to the Council of Ministers, and then I'm happy to announce finally the minimum wage will be increased. But I'd like to say it's a one-time increase of the minimum wage, not an indexation. The indexation can still take place for this year. Okay, so just like to announce that.
Thank you. And the final question goes to Mr. Lyndon Brown of BCN TV.
Question to the Minister of Justice. Minister of Justice, when you came into office, the hot topic was immigration. And there was protests and personal statement have been handed down to you, Minister. Some people are saying that is human rights being discriminated. You said recently that you have to follow the law anyway. But recently, I think it was 15 years ago that under the National Alliance, they had a grace period. Is it pending, Minister, that it's come to my attention that there's so much people who is undocumented on the island, Minister, and people are asking imminently, do you thinking about a grace period for all of these people?
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Minister, did you understand the question?
Sort of. I'll try my best.
All right.
Okay, so I cannot go on record and say that there's going to be a per se a grace period. Maybe, Minister, you will allow me to, my colleague minister here and I, as well as he's functioning in both capacities. There's a covenant between the Ministry of VSR, TEAT, and Justice, in particular VSR and Justice, where we are working to give sort of a grace period to, in particular, business owners who have employed persons for quite a number of years. And what we see at the Immigration Department a lot is persons bringing in job letters for companies they've been working for years, but have indicated that these companies are refusing to file for them. So Minister and I and our teams have been working diligently to bring forward a pilot program, so to speak, where we want to be able to give, yes, a grace period to these companies to do the right thing by their employees. We have a lot of people, and I've stated this before, within our community who want to do right, who are doing right, but have experienced certain challenges like employers who refuse to file for them. And the basis to be able to have or apply for a permit, a residency permit on the island, is to be able to show self-sustainability, which means you have to prove you have income. And to have legal income, you need to have a work permit to do so. So what Minister and I are trying to do, and our teams, is to be able to bridge that gap, give an opportunity, and we hope to bring that forward to the Council of Ministers within short for approval, and then the pilot program will be launched. Yeah? I hope I answered your question, if I understood your question. Thank you.
Thank you, ministers. Thank you to the members of the media for your participation in this round. We will now move over to our closing. So, honorable ministers of the council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, August 10th, 2022. For a rebroadcast, tune into the SXM Gov Radio 107.9 FM, Telem's TV Plus, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, its official YouTube channel, and TV 15. For video on demand, you can also log on to the government's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, my name is Giselle York, and I wish you a pleasant day further. Thank you all.